President Trump be taking all the tech giants, all the bank CEOs with him. All of these major CEO companies flew with President Trump to meet with Xi Jinping. So there are two major breaking stories today. If you're not caught up, I want to catch you up. First, let's start with international breaking news. In the United Kingdom, King Charles announced today that they are going to go full force with the digital ID infrastructure, which is going to take over the banking system along with your physical identity, your physical digital structure.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services.
Basically, Starmer made it very clear at the beginning of this year that if you do not comply with this digital ID infrastructure that's going to be implemented, which was now validated by King Charles, that you are going to have a hard time getting socially verified. You understand? Socially verified, that if you do not verify yourself or comply with this system, you cannot participate in the society. Understand that part. President Trump did not travel to China alone. He took all the tech mongols, the tech giants, the big companies, the banking infrastructure CEOs, BlackRock, all the creatures, the swamp of the deep state, like the people that we were supposed to drain. He took those vultures, those creatures are now leached on to the president, flew with him to China to meet with Xi Jinping. The same day that King Charles announces that digital ID will be going live soon. What is the one thing that China has mastered in the past century? If you have been following the meetings in Davos, you are going to understand that Klaus Schwab himself said every single nation needs to look to China when it comes to digital surveillance and one governing system transition into the new world order. Our president, who was supposed to drain the swamp, has taken the swamp with him to China to negotiate and broker deals on behalf of the American people. And these deals, I tell you, my friend, are going to involve the digital infrastructure surveillance system. You can take that to the bank.
Let me show you the satanic symbolism in one of the biggest parks of Norway.
The elites always use symbolism to communicate, and I think it's pretty clear what kind of symbolism is portrayed here. It's to keep the human spirit down.
Because you're not seeking completion anymore, you're already complete. Now this sounds wonderful in theory, and in many ways it is. There's a tremendous freedom in not needing others to validate your existence. But there's also a price, and the price is this. You can no longer play the old game. You can no longer pretend that the theatrical performances of conventional romance are real. You can't fake being swept away when you see too clearly how the sweeping is done. This is where the loneliness comes in. Not the loneliness of being physically alone. That's easy. You can sit by yourself for hours and feel perfectly content. No, this is a different kind of loneliness. It's the loneliness of seeing through a game that everyone else is still playing. It's like being the only adult at a children's party. The children are having a wonderful time. They're completely absorbed in their games. But you can't join them. Not because you don't want to, but because you can't make yourself believe the games are real anymore. You meet someone. They're attractive. They're interesting. They seem to like you. And in the old days, this is where the story would begin. The story of pursuit and conquest, of longing and fulfillment, of two people finding each other in the vastness of the world. But now you see the story before it even starts. You see how it will unfold. The initial intoxication, the gradual revelation of flaws, the negotiation of needs, the slow recognition that neither of you can give the other what they're really looking for, because what they're looking for doesn't exist outside themselves. And so you hesitate, not out of fear, but out of clarity. You cannot walk into a trap when you see it so plainly. You cannot drink the poison when you know what's in the cup. And this hesitation, this inability to throw yourself into the old drama, it sets you apart. Others sense it. They feel that you're not playing by the usual rules, and it makes them uncomfortable, or it makes them curious, but either way, it creates distance. Here's what nobody tells you about awakening. It raises the standard. Before, you might have been content with someone who made you laugh, someone who found you attractive, someone who filled the evenings with conversation. But now, that's not enough. You're looking for something else, something that has no name in the usual vocabulary of romance. You're looking for someone who has also seen through the game, someone who knows they are already whole, someone who isn't trying to use you as a missing piece in their puzzle. Because only then can you meet each other as you actually are, not as fantasies or saviors or solutions to loneliness, but as two expressions of the same reality, two waves that have both realized their ocean. And here's the difficulty. Such people are rare, extraordinarily rare. Most people are still caught in the old story. They're still looking for their other half. They're still trying to build their identity through relationships. They're still playing the game with deadly seriousness. And you can't blame them for this. You played it too, until you didn't, until you saw through it. But the fact remains, the field has narrowed considerably. Where once there were many possibilities, now there are few. Where once you might have fallen in love with someone's smile, or their wit, or their way of moving through the world, now you need something more. You need them to be awake, or at least awakening. You need them to know what you know, to see what you see. And that severely limits the options. This is why so many spiritually awake people find themselves alone. Not because they can't love, but because they can't love in the old way anymore. They've outgrown it. Like a child who has learned to read and can no longer find satisfaction in picture books. The old stories don't work anymore. They need something more substantial, something real. And sometimes, often actually, that something real doesn't appear. Years go by, you meet people, you have conversations, you feel connections, but none of them go deep enough. None of them touch